Seconds for everybody to join in to say what's up. What's up, world? I hope everybody's getting ready for New Year's Eve coming up in a couple of days, and ready to make 2023 the best year yet for your dating or relationships, depending on where you are in your life and what it is you're doing. But either way, it's going to be a good one, isn't it? So, with that said, we've given it a few minutes. Well, a few seconds, really. Let's go ahead and move you down some and let us begin. So, first of all, welcome. Welcome to your favorite part of your week, maybe of your month, depending on if you've been paying attention and joining the other ones. And perhaps, as we're coming up, and this is the last live stream of the year, this is, in fact, the best day of your year so far. It might be. You know, for many people it is. A lot of people don't have great days very often throughout the year. But the good news for you is that I, Papa Jack, am here for you to make sure that today, December 29th out here in Korea, maybe 28th for you if you're still in the States or somewhere even further west than that, is going to be the very best day that it possibly can be. But there is something you can do to help ensure that it is as perfect as possible. And so if you would like to reach the absolute heights of humanity, if you would like to achieve the culmination of all of civilization, all you need to do is find yourself some sort of beverage vessel and fill it with a drink. I myself have a brand new artisanal coffee roast that was gifted to me for Christmas by Lady North. We're going to be talking about her a little bit more later on in this stream. Some of you guys have met her, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Find your beverage vessel, fill it with something, and lift your glasses now with me as we join together for a cheers with chaps. Cheers, boys. Not bad. Not my normal coffee roast. Gonna take a little bit of getting used to, but I like it. I like it. It's a dark roast. It's got a little bit of a kind of a chocolatey tone to it, and it's a little sour as well. I can get on board with this. This is pretty good. All right, now let's jump into it. So today, I'm sure you're wondering to yourself, Papa Jack, what the hell are you going to be talking about today? As we're coming to the end of the year and we're preparing ourselves mentally, preparing our plan for what it is that we're going to do for the next year. I think it's better for us to take a pause from planning for a moment and reflect. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to reflect a little bit. And I'm going to take you through some of the things that I've been through, some of the things that have led me to where I am now. And I'm going to explain to you where I am now, how I got here, what's going on with me, and then we're going to return to planning as I tell you about the future. Now, if any of this sounds a little familiar, perhaps a little Dickensian, I think that's the word, isn't it? A little Dickensian to you. That's because I am absolutely stealing my inspiration from Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And we're going to be going through today the ghosts of player, past, present, and future. And I'm going to be getting into detail about all these different aspects of my life. And at the risk of sounding like I'm just getting onto a personal soapbox here, the reason that I'm going through this stuff is because I think that it will help you guys to better identify where you are in your progression in learning how to meet and date women, in how to handle relationships and things like that. And so I'm actually just going to take some time here and tell my story and let you guys kind of see where things started clicking for me, what things helped me, what kind of mistakes that I made throughout my past, my history, and how you can learn from those to avoid those mistakes, but also to shortcut to where you want to be in the future instead of having to take all the time that I did to get to where I am. So I guess we should start with this. I'm 36 for those of you who don't know. So I'm 36 and I started dating when I was, I don't fucking remember, middle school. 13, 14 was when I started dating, right? Like dating, middle school dating is like you take a girl to the movies, but your parents drive you both there, and like it's not quite dating, but during the pep rally, you sneak behind the bleachers with a girl and you go make out for a little bit, things like that. And so, uh, I started off rather early and rather quickly because I found that a bit of I had a bit of a don't give a fuck attitude that really worked well for me, especially when I was younger. Like I just straight up did not give a shit what was going on or what people thought or who saw what or anything like that, which got me into a lot of trouble very often, actually. Um, but it did lead to me being, let's say, prolific, successful throughout middle school and high school. And then I started dating a girl my senior year of high school. And I decided after high school, I thought to myself, well, I should stop being mean, and I should stop caring only about myself, and I should grow up and man up and be more mature and start caring about women's feelings and trying to be a better man for her and things like that. And so I ended up dating this girl, the one I met in high school, and we dated all through university and afterwards as well. So total, our relationship was about 8 years long or so. And what I found was that when I did that, when I made that change in my mind, and I decided to start caring more about other people and what they thought and trying to, come off better to them and things like that, it completely threw me on my ass. Like I stopped being able to flirt with girls, to actually do well with them at all. And it was like, I mean, it wasn't back to square one, because at square one I had been doing okay. It threw me to like negative squares, right? Where just I seemed to know nothing, and I couldn't do things that I used to be able to do. And I wasn't sure why. And it didn't make any sense to me, because in my head I was thinking like, oh well, girls will want to be with me more if I'm being nice, right? They like nice guys. They like nice guys, right? Oh shit. Oh shit. Paul's in. Hey, what's up, buddy? Hey, did you get the link to join the panel later? I hope so. Anyway, I'm going to keep on going, right? So in my head I was thinking like, well, girls don't want to be with assholes, right? They want to be with nice guys. And it completely fucked me. But it fucked me worse than I had anticipated, because, I mean, obviously I didn't anticipate it at all, or I wouldn't have done it. But it completely ruined not just my ability to meet and talk to girls, but also, hey, Julius, can you message the link that I sent you? Message that to Paul, please. Okay. Uh, it ruined my social skills in general, all over all spheres of social interaction. I had a harder time talking to other guys. I had a harder time connecting with people. I had a harder time even just talking to girls platonically, and it it sucked. It was the it felt like I was invisible, especially to women. And if they did notice me, like if I just happened to be in the social group or something, then they all treated me as if I was gay, or as if I was a leper or something, right? Like they didn't actually want to talk to me. Why? Because he's just a nice guy, right? He's just a nice guy. Nothing really to pay attention to here. And it right. So I thought, oh, I'm not being nice enough. Oh, I'm not being nice enough. Right. Like I'm angling the plane down as we're heading towards the ground, and everything was getting worse and worse and worse. And the girl that I was dating for all those years, right? Like she was losing respect for me as time went on. And I was unable to control my relationship with her. I was unable to meet other people. I was unable to interact socially in any real meaningful way. I couldn't make good connections with guys, like to make close friends. I would make a friend for 3 to 6 months, and then they would just be gone. Right? Like, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with Jack. Just like, why would we call him to hang out, right? Like it's just there, right? And it wasn't like I stopped talking, because I still have my outgoing personality, and I would still talk to people and kind of make jokes and be a little bit silly, but I didn't have any of that devil may care irreverence that you see from me so often now, and that I had initially. And even whenever I realized what the situation was, and so I was probably 21 or 22 when I finally pieced together. I was like, oh shit, the nice guy thing is the wrong move. I went the wrong way. Okay, but even then, I had gotten so into these habits and into, damn it, Simba, go away, man, go away. You're pulling out my cables. Go, 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 go away. Go. The dog got under the desk and he's chewing on toys and shit down there with all the cables and pulling things out. Anyway, I was unable to just go back and revert to what I had been before. The habits had ingrained themselves so deeply. My way of talking to people, but not just that, my way of thinking. I had altered my brain and my view of reality and how I saw the world, so much so that I was completely lost, knew nothing, realized that I knew nothing though, because I did know that there was a better way. I just didn't know how to get back there. And so that was when I started looking up things like game advice. And I read the game, just like a lot of guys who get into things like this. And I read Tucker Max a lot. Actually, if you look close enough, you can see some Tucker Max books still back here, because I do quite enjoy my Tucker Max stories. He was a very good writer. I know it's a different story now, but he was very good at putting together stories well. And I read a lot of his stuff and looked at a lot of forums. Roosh really spoke to me a lot when I was around 22, 23, around that time. And he's also changed and gone a completely different direction. But those were my early influences in trying to recalibrate my mind to better understand women. And my relationship with the girl I dated had soured so much that the only way for me to actually just break it off and escape, essentially, was to just fuck off and move across the world. So that's what I did. And I moved out to Korea, and that was back in 2009. And when I got here, I knew nothing, right? Because like I said, I had no game. I had broken my mind and my social skills completely. I didn't know how to talk to girls. I didn't know how to actually make friends with guys. And on top of all that, I had been in a shitty, toxic relationship for 8 years. So when I got here, I was fucked, right? Like I'm stuck out in the middle of nowhere, and I had nothing going for me in at least in the social regard. Now, what I did have was I had time, because I was still quite young. So when I got here, I was 23, and I knew that I had time, but not a lot of time, because when I was 23, I still believed in the notion that you should, hurry up and try to find the right person for you, and get married as soon as you can so that you can grow together and build your life together and all that stuff. And anybody who's not married past the age of 30 must just be broken or creepy. It's a very common perspective in people who have not experienced the real world, right? Uh, and so that was how I was feeling, and I was still on board with the okay. I just need to reset everything, and then I'll go to a new place, and I'll be able to get back to how I was, and then I'll be able to find the right person and then make a relationship work. Now notice what I said there. I said my goal was to find someone, and I mean, in your mind you think like, oh, the right person, but also then the next thing I said was make a relationship work, which means you're not finding the right person, right? You're basically saying, okay, we have a circular hole and we have a square peg, but this square peg is a little rounder than most. Maybe I could shove it in there and make shit work, even though it's not supposed to. And that still was like that. That was my mentality at the time. And so I had a series of, I think the best way to describe me when I got to Korea, well, my dating life once I actually picked up. Let's get there in a second. Okay, so got here, knew nothing, terrible at socializing, terrible at social skills, and fortunately for me, there were a couple of guys in the small town where I lived who were better at things than I was. Now they weren't great, but they had better social skills and they were better with women and they had better attitudes than I did at the time. And so I just kind of stuck with them for a while, and I tried to kind of copy things that they did. And I mean, obviously that doesn't work, but then whenever you try to copy what somebody else is doing, and then because you can't copy it right, you kind of eventually start to make it your own. And that's when things started to work a little bit better. And after about 6 months here, I finally did get I got a date. And I started dating this girl who actually some of you guys have heard about her before. If you've read my book, because the very first girl I dated when I got to Korea was the crazed lover who later tried to stab me. So I was doing a great job, obviously, of finding the right one, and trying to make it work. Uh, and because I still had these weird romantic Disney infused notions of the perfect relationship, or of making the perfect relationship out of an imperfect situation, I went on this kind of, it's difficult to describe because it was like a series of monogamous relationships, but I wasn't really being all that monogamous for a lot of the time also, because I was rediscovering my superpower of being able to talk to girls, of developing my social skills, of making friends with guys, and being out and about in a place like Seoul was a lot different from being out and about in the middle of West Texas. So there were a lot more opportunities, and I'm not saying any of this to be a good thing, because it's not, right? And a lot of the shit that I did, I regret significantly. But I went through these series of relationships where I would date a girl for 3 to 6 months or so, and depending on how long the relationship went and how boring it was, then I would fuck around more. And weirdly, a lot of them knew, like it was just kind of part of it, and that was because I was developing more of the I don't give a fuck, right, attitude. And that attitude is immensely attractive, even though it doesn't seem like it should be. It seems counterintuitive that a girl would want a guy who doesn't care about her, but strangely, that's what draws them in more. And so the less I cared, the more interested they became in me, both for relationships, boyfriend girlfriend thing, and for hookups and for flings and for whatever else. And so the more I developed that attitude in myself, the more I became that how can I best put this? The version of players and PUAs that the media likes to portray, right? Like the shitty toxic version, the version that's going around to girls saying, "Oh yeah, yeah, baby. Oh, you're my only girl. Oh, I love you so much. Oh, you're the best." And then as soon as she leaves, I'm on my phone and I'm like, "Hey, what you doing?" Right? And I can't say that it wasn't fun. It was fun, but it was unrewarding, and I mean, it was immoral, right? So let's go ahead and start with that. But it was also it was exhausting, and it wasn't rewarding, but it was fun in the same way that, I don't know, playing Call of Duty for 8 hours straight can be fun, but it's not rewarding. Like at the end of that, you don't get up and you say, that was a day well spent. Man, I'm really glad that I did that. Like, no, at the end of that, you're like, oh, fuck. What else could I have done with all that time? Jesus. Like, it was fun, but I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't doing anything. And that is, that's unfortunately a realization that a lot of guys come to eventually. In fact, most guys, right? So where I started from is where a lot of guys who I meet and who I coach start, which is knowing nothing, not even being that good at social relationships in general, much less with women. And then they move into dating women. They start meeting girls. They start talking. They get better at it. And then they realize, like, wait a minute, Jack was right. I do have a fucking superpower. This is amazing. Holy crap. And then they just go hog wild and feast upon the buffet of booty out there in the world. And then after a while, they're like, right, but like, is that it? Is it just booty one, booty all? Let's all do the booty crawl, or does it go somewhere? Does it create something more meaningful, longer lasting? Does it create at least companionship, somebody to spend some time with? And that's basically the male version of when girls hit the wall when they turn 30 and their looks like shh. And for guys, that wall is mental, it's emotional, sometimes spiritual, when they realize that, like, wait a minute, these bitches ain't worth it, right? Like, which takes them one of two ways: either to, these bitches ain't worth it, so I'm pulling out entirely, or these bitches ain't worth it, so I'm just gonna find one that I like the best and just chill on that for a while. And that, I mean, two different routes, but caused by the same wall. The same way that girls who hit the wall either settle down and marry a beta or they turn into cat ladies, right? That's the male version of those two things. Obvious differences, but you get kind of my analogy there. And that leads us to the present, which is that I decided, actually, it wasn't as much a decision as I wish it were, because the best way to find a good and serious relationship, and the one that I would advise people to take, is not actually quite the one that I took. But when I met Lady North, I wasn't especially looking for a serious relationship. But then when I met her, I immediately decided, no, you know what? Forget what I was planning before, because I wasn't planning on meeting this type of girl. And so I decided to check out and hang up my spurs, as it were, and settle down with Lady North. And that's gone well for me. But for a lot of guys, the trouble, once you get good at meeting women, then the trouble is not finding a girl who wants to date you. The trouble is finding a girl who you want to keep around. which I know sounds backwards to guys who are still at the beginning of the journey. When you're dying of thirst in the desert, you think any water is amazing water. But when you realize that you can create water at will, then you're looking for the best glass of water possible. And every glass has, some abnormalities, some defects, some issues, some fucking daddy problems, mental health issues, whatever else. And depending on the culture where you are, it may be just completely undiagnosed and let's just pretend this doesn't exist and ignore it forever, like everybody does in Korea. Uh, but when my point though is that when you realize that you can get girls at any time and sex is no longer the commodity, but quality relationships, good companionship, somebody who you actually enjoy being around, enjoy talking to, that is the commodity that's tough to find. And this is one of the reasons that for example, like, so for those of you who have seen, who have gone through, or who are currently going through the Girlfriend Accelerator course, that's why I lead them on that roller coaster route, where we start off with like, okay, let's figure out who it is you're looking for, what it is you want. Okay, let's help you discover your superpower. You're going to start dating multiple girls a week, and then we're going to narrow it down because we're looking for something particular. Or we're not going to narrow it down if the particular thing you're looking for is, I just want to bang everything that moves, or I want to keep around a harem of women, or whatever it is, right? So it obviously works differently depending on where you are in your life and what it is that you're looking for. But the point is to take them on that roller coaster as quickly as possible so that they don't go through years and years and years and years like I did, to get to that point of proficiency, of understanding what their power is and how to use it, how to control it, the harm that it can cause by wielding it indiscriminately, things like that. So for reference, when I first got to Korea, it was 2009. And when I had the time that it took me from when I landed to when I had complete control over my social life and my dating life, and I could, on pretty much any given weekend, not every weekend, but most weekends, I would be able to go out and get laid, or I could make a girlfriend within a week, or I could, whatever it was that I wanted to do. So I had complete control over it. That was about 4 or 5 years until I hit that point. And that was because I didn't have anybody leading the way. I didn't have anybody helping me, telling me what to do, what not to do. It was just a group of young dudes. And actually, around that time was when I met Julius as well. And like, we were just like a group of young guys just going around and trying to stick our dicks in everything, because we had no concept of what we were doing or why we were doing it. We just knew. We were like, well, we're horny and they're willing, so yeah, right? And obviously learning how to control that, when to use that, and how to target your focus so that you aren't just shotgun spread approaching, going up to everybody being like, hey, what's up? You want to party? Oh, you want to suck my dick? Okay, cool. I love getting my dick sucked. Yes? No? You in? Okay. That doesn't really work that well. But it works if you're willing to go up to 200 girls and do that. Not quite what we were doing, a little bit of an exaggeration there, but still the point remains that we were just going around just fucking everything. And I think that helping guys figure that stuff out, get over that hump, realize what their power is, learning how to control it, helps them a lot, and it helps them to actually achieve their goals. And so that takes us to the ghost of player future. Where am I looking to go now? Like, what's next? And my goal is, honestly, for the last 2 years or so, I've been focusing on trying to create these online courses and these coaching courses to help guys learn this stuff and to help them learn the things that I couldn't learn or that took me years to learn. Things that I've only learned through my own mistakes, like to not date a crazed lover for more than 3 months, because if you do and you ever try to break up with her, right? Okay. So learning things that I've learned the hard way, or learning things that took me years to figure out, or helping to hone down exactly what it is that they're doing because they don't even realize what their offer is, which we've talked about before on the live stream. And to help do that has been my goal for the last 2 years. And the more I focus on this and the more I get into it, the more I'm learning about my own offer, right? The same as I was just saying that a lot of guys don't realize their own offer. They don't really know who their target girl is. And I'm trying to narrow down exactly who my target audience is, who can I help, and who deserves my help, if we're being entirely honest. So I'm trying to refine that down, figure out exactly who I can help the best, who I want to help the best, and how I can best communicate it to them. Because as you've noticed in this stream itself, I'm able to talk forever, but that doesn't mean that it's refined down to actually get across the points that I wanted to clearly drive home to you. And I may not even know yet exactly what the key points were. I'm just kind of following along. And for better or worse, that is the way that I've learned how to do everything from guitar to meeting women to literature, like just finding books that lead me to the next books that lead me to the next books that lead me to all this other stuff. I'm very much an explore, try it, fail a bunch, and then figure it out on your own kind of person, because that's always how I've learned to do it. The only problem with that, it's a lot of fun, right? And you get to do things along the way. But the problem is it takes for fucking ever. And so unless you're willing to just fail at something for years and years and years and years and never give up, which most people aren't willing to do that, right? Like I'm a little bit of a weirdo in that regard. But unless you have that personality type of, I like to fail at things so that I can learn them my way, then your dating life would be far improved by getting a coach. The same way that I would be a much better guitar player if I had ever bothered getting a guitar teacher, right? Like for sure, I would definitely be better and faster than I am now. There's no question about that. Now, I enjoy this process more, and also I wasn't trying to be like a professional guitar player. I didn't have any real particular goals with that, but dating is a little bit of a different situation. I absolutely would have hired somebody or paid for a course or anything like that if that had existed at the time when I first came here, whenever I wanted that thing, because dating is like, it's like food, right? Like, sure, you could get by on bread and water, but that's basically what most guys have in their relationship, in their relationships in their lives. There's just bread and water, which is like, yeah, I get to talk to people sometimes, and every now and then one of them is a girl. And so technically I'm meeting my social requirements, right? But you need to fix that immediately. And everybody has some kind of relationship goals or desires or something that it is that they want or that they're trying to move towards or change or anything like that. And so dating is a bit different. And I highly recommend checking out the courses if you haven't yet. Maybe you're going to find out that the courses are for you. Maybe you're not, right? Like I was saying, I'm trying to narrow down my audience and figure out exactly who it is. And so if the courses aren't for you, that's fine. If you aren't the kind of guy who wants help, who actually wants to get better and improve his dating life, if you're doing perfect the way you are, no sweat. Or if you hear my stuff and you think to yourself, no, I don't want somebody who's trying to like teach me how to fix myself. I just want somebody to tell me, what words do I say to get her to go home with me? I have been reliably informed by internet advertising that there is one line I can say to make any woman instantly fall in love with me. Go for it. You're also not the target audience in that case. But if you've been watching this, until now for the last 30 minutes, Jesus Christ, then you probably are the target audience. You're probably a little bit smarter than the average bear. You're willing to consider things more critically. You're willing to think a little bit deeper about stuff, maybe even look at yourself a little bit more critically, say, okay, what can I do better? How can I adjust myself so that what I put out there is a better reflection of me and of what it is that I'm looking for? And if any of that sounds good to you, if that sounds like something that's clicking and you're like, yeah, you know what, actually, that does sound like something that I would like to do, then you should really go and check out the courses. Go over to realjacknorth.com and check out the course that we have up there and have a look at it. Like I said, if it is for you, if any of this sounds like it is for you, then you absolutely should sign up there. And you can also join our community for free. If you're still on the fence, you're not sure, there's a link below this video. And at least if you're on YouTube, if you're on Instagram, I don't know, man. I'm a fucking boomer. I don't know how to put shit like that in there. So if you're on YouTube, there's a link below the video linking you directly to our community, which you can join. You can talk to me anytime, and you can talk to the other guys in the community who are going through the courses. They're all great guys, and you can ask your questions, which is maybe the best part, because then we answer them live on these weekly live streams. Speaking of which, it is now time. Nice segue there, right? Now it is time to move into the Q&A to answer the questions from our community this week. However, before we do that, we have one point of business, which is to say goodbye to Instagram, because I don't really know how to put the stuff together to get people in here to join this thing, and I don't particularly care to either. If you really want to see my content, the good stuff, get off of Instagram Live and go check it out on YouTube. It's youtube.com/ at realjacknorth, I think. Yeah, youtube.com/ at realjacknorth. Anyway, go check that out. I'll see you guys later. I'm killing it now. And video. All right, good. Now they're gone. Now that we're alone, we can actually get down to the good stuff. The stuff that I couldn't share with you on Instagram. I'm just kidding. I actually don't. I don't give a shit. I share my shit everywhere. All right, let's go ahead and bring in the panel and get started on today's Q&A before I just go off on another tangent. Let's bring in the kid coming in from California, Julius coming in from Texas, and coming in hot from fucking Norway, Paul. How you guys doing?
Good morning.
Good.
Long time no see, buddy. What time is it for you there?
It is currently 6:40 a.m.
Oh,
Jesus, you got up early.
And it's winter time in Norway, which means the sun doesn't come up until March, right?
Oh, it's more like 9:30, but sure.
Close enough.
It's still way later than usual. Jesus.
Yeah. 9:30. Man, I can't fathom in my head. I mean, I hate waking up before the sun comes up, which we have to do in wintertime if you have any sort of morning job. But it's usually up around like 7:30 or so, 8. And so at least when you're on your way to work, then the sun's up. I can't imagine, like it's still fucking midnight when you guys all get to the office. Fuck that.
The worst part about having an office job in Norway is literally you go to office when it's dark and you leave when it's dark.
Right. And so I guess you guys must just take like 10,000 IUDs of vitamin D every day, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the sunlight looks like anymore. Oh shit, are you in prison? Worse, Norway. Oh, I joke. All right. I'm really glad to have you here. I'm really glad you were able to make it. This is exciting. The kid, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, so the first question I got is a Discord submitted question from one of the community members.
Good.
So it's kind of a question, but I'll just read the whole quote. I'm not sure what my question is, but it's kind of related to your topic. So his question is, some girls start to like you more than just for hookup. They want to date, they trust you, but you just play with them and they already have another girl to date, etc. What when it happens, I don't feel that good personally. So he's saying, how do not feel like liar? I want them to be around, but is it possible without false expectations? That's like his summary plus question.
All right. There's two ways to look at this, which is one, if she hasn't made her expectations clear, fuck her, right? Because secret contracts and unset expectations, I don't care, right? Like, you didn't say that. That's also not very realistic, right? Because girls aren't going to do that kind of stuff. The other way to look at it would be to just, I mean, kind of be upfront about it, right? And like, actually, do you know what? When I used to date multiple different girls at the same time, I was usually pretty bad at dealing with this, and so I would just kind of avoid it all the time. But I know one person who was much better than me at being upfront and just dating multiple girls all the time, and that is my student who has surpassed the master, Paul. Tell us,
Yeah.
how do you date multiple girls at the same time with clear expectations and not feeling like a liar, not feeling like you're leading them on?
Well, for me, it was pretty simple. It was just always be brutally honest. Like whenever someone asks, it's like, yeah, I do. I'm dating multiple girls. That's not a problem. Some girls would be very shy about it, and like I remember this one girl, 25-year-old virgin, something like that, and we went back to the hotel.
I remember her too.
Yeah, we went back to the hotel and everything, and it's like afterwards, you're like, "Do you do this often?" And it's like, "Yeah, of course I do." And then yeah, so like, what's the expect? So what do you want out of this? Like she's trying to fish. Is like, okay, are we in a relationship? Whatever, right? And I'm like, yeah, you might be one of 3 or 4 this week. If you're lucky, you get to be one of 3 or 4 next week too, right? So it was always just being very honest, and of course, in the start, I thought it would scare a lot of girls off, but actually, they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
So
this.
in the end, it was. I remember that in the end, when like kind of after spending some time building my harem, it became very interesting because when every girl knows, they all start competing with each other without ever having met each other.
Yeah.
So I had girls sending me messages like, if your date goes bad, just call me and I'll come over.
Yeah.
Like they know I'm going on a date.
Yeah.
And then they're still trying to score if it doesn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
And
Julius.
yeah, that was eye-opening.
Julius, do you remember when I was homeless and I had Otter and Bear on just long-term retainer? I kept them both around for like a year and a half, and they both knew that I was dating other people and banging other people, but it was very much just like a don't ask, don't tell. Like they didn't want to know about it, but they knew that it was a thing, and they're like, "Oh fucking hell, just warn me or something."
I remember that. I remember both of your things very distinctly. I remember Paul's approach. He approached it like a man of science. He had everything down to like an engineering algorithm and all this stuff. Like he had everything just so perfectly set up, and it worked brilliantly. Of anyone I've known, and for being someone so new at it, like he had it all figured out already. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I agree. The best honesty is the best policy. Because I do the opposite. I just kind of, I'm like this puppet master. Have you guys ever seen The Godfather? Like the logo has like the hand and the puppet strings. That's me. But
and there's just these Indian girls dancing around you.
Yeah. But mathematically speaking, a probability always works against me because you will get caught. All it takes is one strand of hair, a text message to pop up, a sock you forget about. One time I left an underwear out of hers that I had totally forgotten about. Lipstick. There's a toothbrush. A million things you didn't even think about. You
Dude,
can't
and
always
girls
see the
will
way
mark their territory too.
they
So,
will. They will.
so trying to lie about it and trying to pretend that you're not dating multiple girls is it's a recipe for disaster.
You know, there were a few things like once. Uh, there is this thing that my then girlfriend left in my bathroom, and I had no idea what it was. Like this weird little plastic thing. I thought it was like I don't know, like a thing of like a toothbrush, whatever. It turned out it was like one of those things that you use to insert a tampon. You know,
Oh Jesus!
yeah. And the other girl found it. She's like, "Hey, who's been here?" I was like, And she told me what it was. I was like, I was caught red-handed.
Yeah,
Yeah. So what do? You just go, you just come out and be honest with it. Yeah, sorry, I had another girl here. I don't know what else to say. She's like, okay, just don't do it again. I was like,
Yeah, right. That's the thing. Like, just being straight with it, it's the easiest.
exactly.
getting so
Because
big.
that way, if there's any unnecessary risks, you avoid them completely. Like Paul,
Yes.
it's genius. So, kid, if you ever want to like do that, yeah, honesty is the best policy.
Yeah, definitely. Being as honest as possible, and I mean fairly upfront about it, right? Like don't even try to beat around the bush. Just copy Paul's example because he really did better at it than both Julius and I did. And
Mhm.
so, just anytime that they ask or that they show concern about it or anything, just be real about it, right?
One thing I want to
Yeah,
add,
like the most important thing is that you have to own it when you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, own it.
So it's you can't do like a shy like yeah, maybe I am. You can't do that. It's
Mm,
just yeah, you're number 3 this week
mm.
yeah, yeah.
on Tuesday.
If you're feeling bad, because maybe the girl likes you and you probably like her back, and you're gonna see other girls, don't be afraid to cut out the other ones you probably don't feel the same way about, and completely commit to the one you are liking. Is also another good way to go about it.
Yeah, that's fine as well, right? So like
Yeah.
if I mean the whole point of dating multiple girls is to I mean ultimately is to
Keep the
try and
winner.
find one that you want to keep around.
Yes, and it's good advice I've given to many people. Actually, one of Jack's disciples ended up. I believe he took my advice and ended up marrying this girl because I was like, hey, you're eventually going to meet one girl that you're really, really going to like, and you're going to start developing feelings for. Just cut off the rest of the girls and stick to this one and make it work. And they're happily married now. So yeah,
Cards.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly, cards. So yeah, just
Yep. That's right.
yeah, don't be afraid of committing.
What's on next, the kid?
Yeah, so we got another disc. Okay, I'm not muted. Just wanted to make sure. We have another Discord community member submission. So this question is it's similar to the last one. And his question is just how to not fall in love if she's so nice.
So that kind of leads in from the last question,
Yeah.
right? So if you're dating multiple girls, well, it depends. It depends on where you are in your life and what your goals are, right? And this is why it's so important to clearly define out. This is what I want. This is what I'm looking for, and I definitely do not want this other thing, right? Because you need to figure that out beforehand. So if you're dating lots of girls, but the purpose is to try and find one you like the best to keep around, then good news, you win, right? You found one that you like. But if you're dating multiple girls because you don't want to commit to anybody, because you don't want to have feelings for anybody, because you just want to be able to focus on work, or because you're going to leave the country soon, or because you're whatever, right? Like whatever your reasons are, it doesn't matter. If you're trying to not fall in love with a girl, then when you start to feel that happening, you have to pull away or even just cut her off completely. Pulling away is useful for a lot of reasons because, first of all, it gives you more space to focus on other things, but it also drives her crazy. So if you do want to still keep her around, she'll be even more into you. But like guys are physical and visual creatures. If we don't see somebody, if we aren't interacting with them, then we kind of forget about them. And pulling away will help keep your feelings at bay. It will inflame hers, so she'll be more into you. Or you can cut her off completely if you feel like you can't control it. If you're falling in love with her and you don't want to, cut it off. What do you guys think?
Definitely pulling away helps. So if you get to the point where you are dating multiple girls and you start feeling that you do start getting feelings for someone. So there's one primarily reason for that to start happening. It's the girl you start spending the most time with. It's the one you see the most often. And what I learned from my experience back in like October, November last year was that, okay, when that happens, just make sure, just kind of ditch the two weakest in your harem and just get in two new ones. Simply because then you get that excitement of something new. And you kind of also dumb down all the other senses to the other girls, because then you're going to focus on the new girls because you need to get them up to speed on everything that's happening and how things are going to be going. And then you kind of get too busy to remember that, oh shit, I was starting to fall for this other one.
Yeah, I like that. That's also a good strategy. Yeah, definitely the pulling away is important. I feel like now that I think about the question a bit more, I think that what you touched on there of it's probably just the girl you're spending the most time with. A lot of guys, if they're not used to it, right? If they like I was describing earlier, if they've just discovered their superpower and they don't yet know how to actually wield it, then they'll get in love is the wrong word, right? They'll become like obsessed or Twitter pated, right? Like fucking Bambi. They get like they get all in and they get these glasses for this one girl because they're spending a lot of time with her and they think, oh, she's amazing, oh, she's wonderful. But stepping back and just realizing, like, wait a minute, she isn't that great. Like she's cool. She's cool to hang out with. I like spending time with her, but like I'm not falling in love with her. I just like the way she sucks my dick. Like, oh, okay, cool. Then you realize it a bit better whenever you start to realize, like, oh, the only time I ever feel like calling her is when I'm horny. I don't call her to like hang out and go places. Or if I do, it's only because I think it's going to lead to me having sex. So then it's not really that much of a personal connection. I think that your assessment there is pretty spot on. What do you think, Julius?
I completely agree with both of you guys. Different approaches, but I think both very good, correct ways of going about it. Me personally, I'm the sucker that just keeps everything and everyone together and happy while adding to it by adding additional girls and such. So things never end well.
Well, depends on your perspective, because from the perspective of your dick, things are great.
Happiest man on earth.
All right, the kid. Let's move on to let's hear from you.
Oh, one of my questions?
I mean, it could be related to the questions we've just answered, or it could be related to what I was talking about earlier, or it could be something completely off topic and different.
Yeah, I would say since Jack's live stream was kind of about his origin stories and kind of his natural progression, I was kind of curious if we could go into the rest of the panels, kind of their origin stories and kind of what their progression was like early on.
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
I could go first really quick.
Go ahead.
I had a similar story to Jack's actually. My relationship with my first and only girlfriend then before I came to Korea was not nearly as long. It was like 2 years, 2.5 years maybe. She was 8 years older than me, and she would definitely play the dominant role there. And aside from getting with her, like I didn't know how to street game or talk to girls or anything like that. So the only real way I knew how to date was just online. So I was like this, meeting people online and such. But this is like before Tinder and anything. So it was really, I don't know, kind of hard, kind of awkward for me. Sometimes I'd get lucky by meeting people in person, but um, yeah, it definitely took a while for me to come out of my shell because I was used to like long term relationships. So I'd jump out of one and go to another long term and then into another long term and so on until I came back to Korea in 2016. And that's like where I just didn't have a girlfriend or anything. And I just went completely crazy. And that's where, I had Tinder available. Plus, I was meeting people in person. I was going to Hongdae all the time and all that stuff. And that's where just kind of snowballed and continue on until I met like another girlfriend. And then when that stopped, I'll just go back to how I was doing it. I'm definitely not like Jack in a sense where I could, you know, get a different girl home every night and such. That's pretty crazy. That's like a talent. But yeah, I've definitely grown a lot as a person in regards to like with the people I've met and the things I've done over there. So I did go there as a very naive, like near virgin moron, and then turned into something completely different, for better or worse, I think.
Yeah, my backstory is also pretty similar to Jack's. I used to date a lot when I was in like early high school. There used to be like 3 to 6 month girlfriends every here and there. And in my third year in high school, I think I met this one girl that I stayed with for 4 years. And then I was single and had my only 2 one-night stands in the next 2 year period. And then I went into another 4 year long relationship. And then I traveled to Korea the first time on holiday, and I met a girl there and was with her for 2 years. And that's kind of how me and Jack met in the first place. Was I was kind of not realizing that that relationship was going in the tanker. So I wanted to figure out how to kind of win her back when we started, but realized pretty fast that that was useless.
I quickly disabused you of that notion.
I
And
remember.
then I came out here, like kind of like a 10 years in relationships, in without pretty much dating anyone. Um, it was always like whenever I got out of a relationship, the first girl I met usually became my next girlfriend. It was always like that.
Hmm.
And then Jack, I came here, met Jack and Caesar on my first day out of quarantine. This was a little over a year ago. And then within, I think it took 2 weeks, then I had 2 one-night stands in 1 week. And from there, it kind of just
Snowballed.
evolved.
Yeah, I think that's a common theme we have is that like we kind of get out like really shitty relationships where we go to Korea to kind of get away from them, and then it snowballs into like this craziness that we experience later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Paul's story, and we were talking a bit, and I was like, okay, we'll definitely help you out with that, and I think we helped him a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean for Paul especially, I mean he did most of it, right? We just helped him to realize his superpower, right? Like
Yes.
because like most men in the world, they don't realize like, oh wait, I can just talk to girls and then if they're interested in me, I can date them and fuck them. What? Right? Like it sounds so simple to explain it that way, but the reality is that most men have these different mental blocks in the way between A and Z to get there, and just removing those mental blocks and letting them realize like, okay, here's your superpower. What are you gonna do with it? Right? It's your choice. You can do anything you want. And Paul, because I mean, like being a little bit older, a little bit more mature, a little bit more self-assured, knowing who you are, knowing what it is you want, that certainly does help to make it easier to get there quickly. But yeah, that's basically all that Julius and I did is we just helped him remove the mental blocks and then just refined a little bit more about okay, so here's the actual approaching process. Here's how it goes. Here's some examples. Here's the dating process. Here's how it goes. Here's some examples. And he's like, okay, ran with it.
Yeah.
I also think it really helped that Paul was like a really cool guy, and so we
Yeah.
were able to hit it off like right away.
Right. I mean, of course, like that always helps. That always
Yeah,
helps.
so we were just like, hey, you want to hang out with it? Cool, we'll do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I also enjoyed helping Paul kind of like realize that his ex is just kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah.
no, Paul, we gotta figure this out. She's a PS1. You deserve a PS5.
Right.
Yeah, so I was like, I know she's pretty and smart, but you
Yeah.
gotta get rid of that. So
Yeah.
you can do a lot better out here, and you don't need to start dating right away. You need to start putting yourself out there, and that's where Jack most certainly helped out.
Yeah.
I think also like coming from Norway, like being a little bit introverted,
Mm-hmm.
it really, really helped joining the social group in Seoul.
Yeah.
Which is just,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
everything is so high energy, and it's kind of managed to pull me out of my little turtle skin.
Yeah. Well, and I mean the good news is that because the techniques and the things that I talk about they're universal principles, so you have more opportunities to practice them and apply them in a large high energy city, but they also work in smaller, calmer places as well. Like we have one guy in the community who a couple of months ago, he bought the Asian Equation course, and then he came to the community hangout last weekend with his new girlfriend, who was really cool and really cute. Like, this shit works, man. This shit works. Now all I have to do is figure out my message to actually help guys understand. They're like, I'm not selling snake oil. This shit actually works. It's a fucking magic potion. All you have to do is take it, right? Anyhow, huh?
What's that? What are you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, the kid. Do you have anything else for us?
No, I think that's kind of a good place to end it, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, we've just crossed the hour mark. I mean, I'm not on a hurried schedule today because I don't have to go film today. But if we're out of questions, we're out of questions.
Yeah. No, I think it was a good discussion. Yeah.
It's good.
I know you've helped a lot of people. Paul's perfect example. He's like the golden child.
Well, and cards as well, right? Like, and cards as well,
cards.
right? Like the guys in our community are just like they're either there because they knew me before I did this, like you, or they are success stories who have already happened or who are waiting to happen, right? Like those are the three groups of people in our community, and it actually is a really cool community. So, by the way, if you guys are watching this and you're not in the community yet, there is a link just below the video. All you need to do is click it, and then it takes you straight into our Discord chat where you can talk directly with us all the time. And there's always somebody awake, even when I'm asleep. You know, Julius is on the other side of the world. He's probably awake, and Paul's somewhere there in the middle. And since it's always nighttime for him, we just assume that he's a vampire and doing fantastically. All right. Well, by the way, does this time work better for you guys? Like, I know that Paul was able to join us today, and normally he can't when we run the streams at noon.
It was slightly early, but I can work with this.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Today was more a lucky thing that I actually woke up by myself.
Yeah.
Because you texted me after I fell asleep.
Right. Okay. And so the reason I'm asking is because I know that this is like the earliest feasible time for Paul to possibly join us, but also we're pushing the boundaries of too late for Julius and maybe the kid as well. And so, well, let's talk about it in the Discord. Let's talk about it there, and we'll see if this time works better. Because if it does, then we can move it to this moving forward as well. But in any case, that's where we're going to go ahead and end it today. So, oh, by the way, I totally forgot. If you guys are watching this and you haven't done it yet, hit the thumbs up, hit the like. It's in one of these corners. Hit the like, subscribe, hit the bell. You guys know how this thing works. Only way that these videos continue to happen is if people are joining and people are liking them. The thing keeps spreading. So hit the button. I would really appreciate it a lot. And the guy who gets to see this video because you fed the algorithm today is going to appreciate it as well. So pay it forward. Hit the buttons. And with all that said, I am going to get out of here and I'll catch you guys next time. Papa Jack out.